you know,
Okay,
Okay.
so our meeting of the Finance Committee has just started. And we do we have any public comment? No public comment, okay. So both members of the committee are here. And we need to approve the minutes of August 16th Finance.
Okay, I'll make a move to approve the minutes.
Okay, minutes are then approved. And next we will do is the general fund and sheriff plan.
I have a couple of questions. Caliber collision, 57, 22, 21.
Yeah,
What
well,
was that?
one of our trucks, they were, this way I understood it, I don't have a full picture, but the guys were backing one of the trucks out and hit the side of like a garage door, and the toolboxes, it just tweaked it.
Okay,
And our deductible is $5,000. So instead of going through insurance,
right.
we just, so.
It makes sense. That
Yeah.
makes sense just to pay it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Unfortunate, but
Yeah.
Why do you have $5,000 deductible?
that's just
Standard?
our policy.
Yeah, but
You know,
would it be, how much would it be if it were a lower deductible? I mean, is it gonna raise it that much?
We have a standard policy for
Uh-huh.
districts.
Oh,
I
okay,
see.
okay.
And we do it as a group.
Okay,
So we
okay.
don't really have a lot of negotiating to say.
That explains it.
Signed a check for that.
I suspect that they keep that high because the districts can afford, right?
Right, sure. It makes it cheaper.
Yeah, it does
Makes the
make it
premium a
cheaper.
lot cheaper.
Sure, sure, okay. There's another one, a utility deposit refund to Jonathan Smith of 2,000.
Yeah, we have two different types of deposits we take from property owners.
Uh-huh.
One is a utility deposit, that's 2,000. And that's for when they put in they've got a trench and put in utilities. And the other one is for a driveway when they do their apron. And we take a deposit on those two things because if they do it wrong and they mess up our roadway, anything that's abutting our roadway, if they do it wrong, then we gotta go in and repair it. Since I've been here, we've never had a problem, but we go and inspect when they're done with the project. If everything looks good, we take the money, we take them in from the property owners. And then when we inspect and everything's kosher, then we send the money back to them. So these are just deposits we take it in and now we're returning to the customer
Okay.
after the project's done.
Okay. And then the last one, what's the emergency Carancho and Sandia striping?
There was an emergency, it was a couple months back. It's two separate things.
Right.
So we did an extension, the striping, where
Yes.
that was
Okay.
mainly that. And
I
then there was a small emergency. I'd pull the invoice and tell you what it is, but it was just an emergency.
Okay.
So it's two separate items.
All right.
Mainly
That's-
the striping
Yeah,
addition.
I
that we
remember,
decided to
I
do.
remember that. I
Yeah.
just, but it said emergency, so.
Yeah, two different,
Okay.
yeah, you got
Okay,
it.
those are my questions.
Okay. Down below you have CalPERS. I thought we're paying that once a year.
These, the two CalPERS.
Yeah.
Those are just our ongoing. These don't have anything to do with UAL,
Okay.
unfunded liability.
Okay.
These are just like from our payroll
I
that's
see.
going on now,
Okay.
you know, what we
Yeah,
have to
okay,
pay.
great.
So that's what that is, two different periods.
Right, all right.
Okay, so we've taken care of that, and we now move on to the resolution 2218 to award slurry seal project.
Well, this went to engineering committee and will be on your agenda tomorrow night.
Right,
We were hoping for a project of 750,000.
correct.
Project came in, I'm just rounding numbers, 940, I believe. Okay. So the question to the engineer was, why are we so far off?
Yeah.
Well, we began design of this in March. And they designed based on our projected budget of 750,000. So they're estimating how many streets we can slurry seal. for that amount of money. So when they completed it, showed the committee, showed the board, these are the roads we're considering doing, these are the plans, let's go out to bid.
Mhm.
So when we went out to bid, came the big shock that
Huge.
the prices
Had gone up, right?
Yeah, wow.
He will, as he described to the committee, I can't remember the cities, he gave some comparables
Mhm.
of other cities and how far it varied. So in other words, we're not alone out there, not that it makes me feel any better,
No.
but that's what's happening in bidding right now. And also, well, so there's two issues. One is the price of product, which is oil primarily.
Right.
And secondarily, that everyone in that phase of construction business is very busy right now. So you don't get very many bids, and the bids are sky high. And the agencies that are getting good bids are low, or good, being
Yeah.
the price they want to pay. It's luck of the draw that you hit a contractor that's just finishing a job or whatever, and he low bids because he needs to keep his crew going. But the rest are, the crews are behind, or they're behind. So the bid prices are high.
So is the plan to redesign the amount of roads you're going to do and read down to
The
seven
committee
fifty?
is recommending that we do just worry about it next year. Whether we do, less next year,
Uh-huh.
or the gas tax money finally comes in,
Mhm.
or oil prices.
So you're gonna
go
recommend
down.
accepting this bid?
That's the recommendation you're gonna hear tomorrow night.
And when would they start?
They'll
Soon.
start November 1st. Which also ties to, whether we may get some cost savings,
Mhm.
because Buena Vista, we finally got the permit, which you're gonna hear tomorrow night.
Right. Good.
Or we're gonna have it. We don't have it in hand, but they promised October 15th.
Okay.
That we will have the permit. So we are hoping that if they both start by November 1, we can just have one inspector inspecting both jobs simultaneously.
Okay.
And I have not
That would
heard
save
back.
some.
Ron didn't know for sure yesterday, but that'll help, I don't know, 20,000 maybe, by not having to have two. Now, the next thing that ties to this, and this jumps to finance committee, is there's an item on your agenda under the engineer's report to approve a $23,000 mitigation fee. And what that is when the Army Corps of Engineers awards the permit to us, we then have to make a contribution to the San Luis Ray, which is that mission down.
Right, right.
And that's where our water feeds
Right.
into that
Mhm.
Right.
drainage.
Okay.
And they're buying up wetlands properties. And so they have so much per acre. We're working, and people are working upstream, which is us.
Mhm.
It's so much money per acre, and we're 0.04% of an acre is our footprint that we're working.
Mhm.
And that's how they determine
And how much?
$23,000.
$23,000?
And then they get to expend that on wetland. And this is all part of the change to US waters back in the Obama administration, where they took all the waters inland.
Mhm.
And so that's part of what the permit is about, if the US government decides to work in the waterways.
Right.
So now they've added this, and then it goes to a company LLC.
Mhm.
So I Googled that,
Yeah.
see, and yeah, they're tied into the US government somehow. And I guess it's so, instead of paying to the government, you pay to a company who the US government has hired to manage this wetlands acquisition process. So they're in about 5 different areas in the United States doing this. But when I saw LLC,
Right.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Oh my
Right.
God.
I don't blame you. That was a red flag.
So you'll have, Debbie will have in her folder the agreement and the check to sign tomorrow.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Because we don't want to be held up any longer.
No.
And so we finally got the environmentalists to get the rules.
Okay.
And so
Okay.
that's what that's all about. So there's three items
Right.
that affect you, this committee. During Ron.
So we did the slurry seal and the FEMA. Is that the two that we did?
The slurry seal, that's all, we've just done the slurry. seal.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, so FEMA is not what you were just
No,
talking
it's
about.
not different.
Okay,
And-
so
and
we,
do
so
we-
we, so we need to do
Yeah.
the service classification.
But be prepared though, in these items, Ron's gonna stop his report. And there's gonna be a report from the engineering committee.
Right.
On policy issues like, do we stop, do we redesign, do we put
I
it
see.
off, whatever. And so Chuck will make their recommendation.
To continue with the project.
They're gonna say to continue.
That's.
You had not met yet when they met, so I said I would advise you.
Mhm.
And so just don't be surprised that somebody may say, where's the finance committee on this?
Right.
Okay, so then you'd be prepared to.
Tell them we oppose it, that they should redo it.
There you
and
go.
Cut it back to $750. Why the hell they spend all that extra money?
Well, do we have the money is my question.
Well, we do,
Okay.
but we can't keep doing it. you
No,
know? I mean,
no.
okay, so this time.
That's that's almost $200,000 difference.
So
Really, by the time you put all the inspection
Yeah.
and all that in.
Jeez.
So, yeah, it's a little frightening.
Like, I just didn't have a chance to get to it with all the stuff, but next month I would like to update the roadway rehabilitation spreadsheet
Yes.
so you can see what is actually and what's slated to come out and see where we're at on all that.
On where we are
Put
financially.
that in,
Yeah.
and that will change it.
It will, it'll be
Yeah.
huge.
Wow.
Let's go to the next one, administrative service classification and salary ranges.
That's.
See, we've been talking about all of these new issues that are putting a strain on the finance staff,
Mhm.
which are, just kind of to boil them down, FEMA, which just gets bigger and bigger.
We're
and
still dealing with FEMA.
Are you?
This Cal Recycle, which it looks like we're gonna be doing in one form or another. And then CalPERS, kind of like FEMA, it just keeps growing in terms of the amount of administration that we have to do. Not things we're doing.
We're
It's,
required to do.
yeah, it's just, it just gets big more and more and more. And in addition, we've changed our whole way of doing things. We have clouds and we have
Yes.
new IT systems. And then over here, we've got the media and,
Mhm.
communicating with the public, which we never used to do.
No.
So it's just grown and grown and grown. And this committee, about a year ago, began talking about the need for the reorganization and basically additional staff time. We reviewed it. We considered the possibility of a second accountant
Mhm.
person. But in actually looking at where the needs are, it's not focused primarily on the accounting. The accounting itself hasn't changed very much because our budget doesn't grow. But it's all these spin-off doing these reports and meeting these deadlines and this and that. And so anyway, we looked at the way we're doing it now and what the possibilities are. And we felt or I felt that if we added another accountant, it wouldn't exactly address those needs. It wouldn't get this televised thing done as an example, right? So we looked at Jessica, and Jessica's been with us for 3 years, and she wants to do new things and move up because she's mid-career. And so the two, Teresa and Jessica, talked, and we concluded that we could train Jessica in some of the key am I saying this right? Now I'm getting into accounting here, but there are some functions of accounting
Mhm.
that could be moved over.
Sure.
And the accounts payable,
Mhm.
which is very time consuming and very deadline driven because of our meeting schedule, your approvals, et cetera. And also she's kind of taken, because of the generation that she's in, a lot of this technical stuff that we're doing now, she's sort of absorbed it anyhow. So the plan we devised is Teresa's position remains the same. Her job description didn't change much. Except we're transferring two functions that are critical, payables and payroll. At least the ability to get a payroll out. All of that goes after it, paying to PERS, paying.
IRS, EDD,
All that.
subsidiary stuff.
The same.
Yes.
And sorry for jumping in, but this serves two functions. Number one, she can help me. Number two, like I joke, if I get hit by a bus, someone else can put a payroll out.
Right.
So that's a good.
And pay
And pay our bills.
And pay her bills.
Yeah.
So, and not, because most of the time I'll probably be doing it, but when we're real busy, Jess will know how to do it.
Well,
Let me
when you're on-
scanner the
doing
payroll
FEMA.
in and
Mhm.
print out the checks, and then I can take care of, because that can wait for a little bit.
Right.
So anyway, that's all.
But so much of it is just repetitive. And so I would suggest, rather than occasionally, that you let her do it on a regular
Okay,
basis and
yeah.
assign,
Yeah,
I agree.
because,
that's,
because mistakes are made when you don't do it
yeah,
regularly.
you're right. So, yeah, I do see that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you heard that.
Okay,
right?
I'll let it go.
That's what I've been
Okay.
saying
will
and
let it
saying
go.
and
Yeah,
saying,
you.
so you heard it.
Let it go. No, Robert's right.
It
You,
needs to
some,
be
she
transition.
needs to learn.
I'm ready to let
Regular.
payables go.
Yeah, well,
It takes
But,
so long.
but payroll too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I
The
will
reason why-
promise. Aye, happy times.
now,
But what about the classification?
yeah, that's what I wanted to know.
So I did I looked at, well, first of all, the proposal would be to move Jessica into a brand new classification.
Right.
Okay, and so I had to do some digging around for an appropriate salary range. And we'll start with this one. I looked at IT analysts, which was the closest focus. I found some comparables here and I based it on the market. So if somebody here says, oh, I think I want another job, you're not gonna drive to San Diego or to LA, right?
Right.
So what's our competition? All right, so I came up with 4 comparables, Hemet, Murrieta, to Menifee, and Temecula, and found what I consider to be equivalent positions and looked at the salary ranges, and you can see what theirs are.
Right.
And so that's how I came up with rounding 81,000 to 97,000. And if you look at the comparable, I think it's pretty close.
And he's got them all, like Menifee, he's got them
Yeah.
highlighted.
Right.
So you can see where.
I put this in for you, Mitty. I'm not gonna send all this data.
Right, good.
Just the first 4
Sure.
sheets, I think.
Right.
So that's how I came up with that number. Then I had to see about salary compression as it relates to the finance manager position, which we haven't looked at in a while. And it's so hard to compare, because I actually have to look at some of the job descriptions of what these positions were in the salary schedule. And like finance managers, everything. So you go to like, I wanted to compare Rancho Water, but water district pay.
Yeah, it's huge.
And so I put one in an account
Yes.
that I thought would be, but there's like 4 positions above this accountant, where here it's the whole thing.
It's all thing,
And then
sure.
there's positions below it, which are included in this job. So anyway, it looked to me that, we're down a little bit. So I'm proposing about $13,000, which would then mean at least 2 more years of merit increases would be then possible.
Sure.
So everyone, Jessica would then jump up, because she's almost at the top of the range now, because she's been here 3 years. So she would go through the whole, it'd be 5 years of merit increases. And then the new admin assistant would start, at the bottom, and that would be 5 years. So everyone then would be eligible for at least 2 years here,
And 5 years.
5 years for merit increases.
That administrative assistant is the same range, so that's not
We
changed.
didn't change
That's
that
already
in the
allowed.
job description.
Yeah.
for that.
Accepted.
So what is Jessica's current salary? And
76 almost.
what does it go to? What is it?
80.
80. Okay.
8850,
Okay.
right?
Mhm.
And then that would be a promotion, so then she would go 6 months and she could get a merit increase.
A
1
5%.
year of a merit increase,
Right,
and then it's every year thereafter till it hits the maximum.
okay,
Right.
okay.
And what is your current,
107.
and what does that go to? Anything?
One,
Well, she would then
20.
be eligible for a merit increase now, which would be
Yeah,
at
I see that.
5%.
Yeah.
And then that would take her about halfway to the top,
Mhm.
between 107 and 120. And then that would be the following year another.
Okay.
Okay,
And then the question came up, you said you were hit by a bus or something like that. But retirement, it became clear as we looked at all the possibilities, that the time to deal with her retirement
Hmm.
is probably a few years before she actually wants to retire. And we're what, 5 years out?
Yeah.
At your age
Yeah.
right now?
Promise. Yeah, promise. I'm gonna hang in there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, because you got the same issue that I have too, that you better, if you retire, but short of 5 years from right now,
Yeah,
you can't make a dime,
yeah.
Mhm.
So you better be able to do a lot of knitting at home or something.
I can't get social
Because-
security because I'm too young,
So
everything, so.
Yeah.
You're
I need to
good
work
for a
5
while
more
yet.
years.
Yeah.
But I would say a couple years before,
Mhm.
worst case, we would just have to absorb another position for a year or so.
Mhm.
But I'm guessing, people move around, things happen. We'll be able to address this issue then,
Okay.
and probably then go in the direction of Fuller County.
Okay,
So what you
Sounds
can
good.
say tomorrow is that we recommend.
yes.
Okay.
Absolutely, right.
And it's kind of complicated, and also that's why I kind of wrote it up in a resolution, and
Mhm.
also made the attachments so that we don't have to go into too much.
That's,
Right.
now, is that going to be done as a closed session?
No,
No,
can't
that's
be.
We
open session.
can't be for that, okay.
Because what it is salaries.
Yeah,
Like,
salaries
you got
are-
somebody else you're talking about, right, tomorrow night, okay?
Uh-huh.
You can talk about salary in public,
All right,
but you're reviewing me.
right.
That's what makes it close.
Close, right.
But you're not really saying anything about any of the people.
Right.
We're only talking about job description.
Right, that's
okay?
true, that's
But
true.
if we were talking about a person,
A
you
specific
would go
person.
in close.
Okay,
But they changed the laws some years ago. With it money, the taxpayer has a right to hear the discussion.
Right.
right, okay.
So
Now, let me ask one more question. What are we going to do regarding our underfunded retirement contributions?
Yeah.
We had actually decided to put that
Are we
on.
putting that up
Yeah.
till when?
Well, that's a good question,
Yeah.
at least a year.
Okay, at least a year, all
Yeah.
right.
And,
Okay,
and just the discussion, the conversation, when we reopen it again, is probably gonna take two or three, I bet, meetings of your committee,
Mhm.
just to get to where you could go to the board with some recommended action.
Right.
It's very complicated.
Oh, I know it is, I know. Okay.
Yeah, the options, so.
But it's so important,
It is,
so
it's,
important.
it's so.
Very scary.
It is.
Okay, so let's now go to the next item, which is now the FEMA disaster update.
Okay, let's see. How much money is coming so far?
1.6 million,
Okay,
about give or take, yeah.
and what, how much are we waiting on right now without having anything more to do? Where the paperwork's all in, and we're waiting on them to pay us?
About Sandia Creek and Via Vaquero, they owe us some money on. And the reason why we haven't gotten Via Vaquero, because it was submitted together. So since there's a hold on Sandia, it's holding that. Anyway, to answer your question,
Take the hold off, forget the hold, how much more is still?
6, so it's about 750,000.
For
That has
Sandy
been-
Creek and
has
the
been-
Oh, not, that's been approved, you mean
Right, but we're just
obligated,
waiting,
obligated
obligated for
to 350,
another 350,
Yeah.
so that puts it at 2,
yeah,
about 2 million.
yeah.
Okay, we have a meeting now for another 400, and that's
432, yeah.
Thursday. And of course, all the work is done on Sandy Creek. We've been pushing to let them. You can't just send them an invoice the way it works. They have to allow you to send them invoices. Yeah, bizarre. But we've been battling for a year and a half now to have them raise the Sandy Creek portion from 350,000 that they already said is okay. And we've collected how much of that 350? About 2 something.
Just about 200,000.
And we need them to raise that so we can take the Sandy Creek bills, okay? And because, well, the extra Sandy Creek bills, the other 400,000, and start submitting invoices, get our money back. But they've got that on hold.
Okay,
And now they're saying, well, you went ahead and did it anyway. So 400,000 is in jeopardy because it took them 2 years to decide whether they would let us submit that. I mean, this is crazy stuff.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
Unfathomable, but
And so anyway, now they have submitted something to us that I refused to, or I just didn't reply to, but I sent a side letter by the deadline saying, we've gotten all of our permits, go, but what they want is to know whether it's completed or not. To which then comes the letter, well, you completed it without our approval, but
It's
we
very
don't know
complicated.
how they can hold that up when it took, the state asked them to reply within 60 days. And it took them 15 months. And this was the reply. So tell us whether you've done it or not. So I just wonder where this money goes. I think it goes to fund the bureaucracy or something.
okay, so
Anyway.
you're saying we have another 400,000 outstanding
Possible.
possible.
Maybe.
Okay,
And what I'm guessing is that it's going to lead to arbitration again.
Right.
And this is going to be the
So,
kickoff. But anyway, so the 200, we've got 1.6. There's 300 in the works, okay?
Yeah.
They've allowed us to bill for that.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay? And now the question is, are we gonna be allowed to bill for 438,000?
So that's what's in question is the 432.
Yeah, and then there's more beyond that, right?
Yes, then we did, yeah, well,
It's
that's including,
administrative, right?
that was separate, well, that's separate from Sandia Creek, but it's all together.
It's all together,
Yeah.
but there's still some
Yes.
additional,
Yes.
which is how much?
I've only billed a little over 100,000 on Sandia. We get 316 is what they've
So there's
approved.
200.
There's
that's
200
already-
there. And I can bill another 175 to 200 on Via Vaquero.
Okay,
Or I have, but they've got it on hold because it's lumped together with Sandia Creek. But I can get that, I can get around that and get that if we want to just, until we settle this other matter, but we'll talk. Okay, we'll figure it out. Wait, more.
So anyway, we're working.
Okay. I see we've made a big increase in
Yeah.
LAIF.
0.99 daily.
Yep.
We're so excited.
Yep.
Wow.
Woo, what are you gonna do with all that interest money?
But that's gonna get bigger and bigger the way things are going. Because remember, senior citizens used to live on that.
Mhm.
We're going to 8-10% interest in their savings accounts.
Oh,
And they
yeah.
went to 0.
Yeah,
And so now it's heading back up. And we're kind of like the senior citizens. We've got our cash in the bank. So,
Mhm.
well, actually, when I came here, the district was.
It was over 1% when you first came.
Oh, yeah.
It was more like 3 or
Yeah,
something.
it was.
I don't remember what it was, but it was higher.
It was a pretty significant,
remember.
like 60, 100,000 a year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were getting some nice.
yeah, I remember when CDs were like 12, 15%.
18%.
Yeah, there was one
Yeah.
that 18, yeah. Wasn't that far ago. Now we just keep going down, but what are you gonna do?
Okay, so now we've done all of the major items. Anything else we need to discuss relating to the committee? Anything? Do we have any public
No,
members
just-
out there?
Just, of course, you guys all, this is not rocket science, but after we do Buena Vista and the slurry seal, we've got a little over 5 million in the bank. That's gonna go way down. So, we got the money.
Way down there.
Well, we've got
You got
a
spending.
million on Buena
Yeah.
Vista, a million on slurry seal, that's
Right,
$2 million
right, I see what
Yeah.
you're
So, I'm just saying the interest it's gonna go.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
Never was high enough to really,
yeah, I know,
so it's okay.
sorry.
It's all right. All right, so the meeting is then adjourned.
okay. Thank you.
Okey dokey, thanks, guys.